Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. Sorry about the delay. A few technical issues. But thank you for coming along to Anneke's book launch. And we are here today to celebrate Anneke and all the hard work that she's put into her lovely book, Recognise Me. This is the first time you've seen your book properly, isn't it? So
I have one copy of the pre-publication, which has a great big grey band on it saying "not for resale."
This one's much.
And it's a much better colour as well. So
Yeah, it is.
A bit garish in pre-publication.
Obviously we're all here to celebrate Anneke, and I wanted to start by just talking a little bit about our journey and how we came together and how the whole concept of this book really came about. So it was about just over a year ago that you and I met on Facebook, obviously, because it's the best place to meet new people on Facebook these days. And Anneke came to me and said she's writing a book. She wants to write a book. She's this idea in her head. She's got her story. She wants to tell it. She wants the world to hear it, but has no idea where to start. I'm a publisher and I own a publishing company. Anneke came to me with a question, and I saw something that needed to be grabbed by both hands, and I just knew from the moment that we spoke the first time that there was something there that needed to be latched onto and thrown out into the universe. So that's kind of how our connection began, and from there was a gap, wasn't there? There was probably 6 to 8 months gap where you finish your manuscript off, and you sent it over to me, the initial draft, and then from then, I think
it was the best thing since sliced bread when I first sent it out, and then I read it a bit later, and oh, grief, what's that?
It's so common. You see it. It's when you put your initial draft together, and you think it's the best thing since sliced bread. I don't need an editor. I don't need a proofreader. This is
wasn't that?
No, not you. But yeah, you do. Once you put your everything into a first draft of a book, you really kind of don't really want to look at it again for a little bit. But she sent it over, and we looked at it, and we edited it some more, and then we edited it some more. We went through a beta reading process, which was really, really insightful, I think.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of really insightful reviews back from lots of different people from different walks of the earth, and just loads of different feedback, I think. And it was really helpful. More rounds of editing. And I think the editing process is so much longer than anyone even imagines it to be. And to incorporate that long process in with also managing a chronic illness as well. I do take my hat off to Tack because it was a huge process. And every time I would say, we've got a deadline coming up, I'd kind of be doing it like, oh, we've got a deadline coming up, and I don't really want to tell Anneke.
And every time I said I don't do deadlines, I'm going to get stressed about this, I'm not going to manage it, and then here it is.
We did one at a time, didn't we? One little thing
That's
at a time.
That's what I said at one stage as well,
Yeah.
didn't I? I was having real issues with. I was taking down medication, and I was having trouble physically dealing with having less of the medication. And it wasn't clear, do I need to use more of it, or do I need to get used to not having it? So I needed to give it time. And I was having panic attacks. It felt like panic. And we were like, how are we going to deal with that? Because there's pressures here with the book, because we'd chosen this date. And we'd chosen this date purposefully. One, it's 15th of May, middle of the month of May. The month of May is awareness month for one of the conditions I'm diagnosed with, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which I'm sure you'll hear more about as tonight continues. It used to be the 12th of May was Awareness Day for the ME community, ME chronic fatigue syndrome. And that's starting to expand to being a month event as well. And I might have chosen the 12th of May for that reason, but the 15th today is our son's 18th birthday. So it's 18 years since Chloe and I, he's just disappeared, became parents. And it just felt really symbolic. So, because Becky offered several times, we can push the date. No, we're not pushing the date. I don't care what happens. We're having the little one takes flight. I've got a new project, new horizons to look at. So,
and it was fine. In the editing process, there was quite a few deadlines and there's quite a few pushes. But there was also, I was working with some flexibility, and there was a point in the middle of editing. I think we just finished with the editor the first round, and we worked a timeline with the editor to be able to incorporate the removal of your podcast.
yes, that's right. We actually timed was it the editor? I think it was a proofreading. That there was a point where the manuscript, I think you call it still at that stage, was sent off to someone, whether it was the editor or the proofreader, who had to do some correcting and come back. Like, I've got about 10 days worth while they're doing that. Let's get the podcast out, because I might not be able to type after they've done that. In fact, I was fine. It was a really easy operation, but it isn't always. It's certainly not in bodies with EDS. But it worked out well.
There was a few little things like that, wasn't there, where you go to
photo
A&E,
session was a
A&E the day before the photo shoot. And that was rescheduled, the first one, yes. So it was just managing it, being flexible and just doing whatever you could. But like Anneke just literally knocked it out of the park. I would be nervous to ask Anneke to do something, because if she'd messaged me the day before saying how tired she was, and I'd be thinking in my head, oh my God, I really, really need to get these books printed though, otherwise I'm going to miss the deadline.
Oh, I was fed up with you that night.
I was like, this is the one thing I have to push on. Otherwise the books aren't going to make it to the book launch. But yeah, absolutely, Anneke, that was my one brutal, harsh moment, and I'm really sorry. But Anneke would write, obviously, a lot of you have probably seen Anneke's Facebook page and the blog posts that she would write on Facebook. Really lovely, raw, vulnerable blog posts. Which is echoed in the book as well, so it gives a little taster of what's to come in the book. And I'd read some of her Facebook page posts and think, oh no, there's something I need to ask her, but now I know she's really tired and she's in bed and I can't possibly ask her now.
There's actually a section on that in the book where I post something on Facebook saying either I'm feeling really well or I'm feeling really bad, and it's in the moment. And then a few days later, I'll get a message from somebody and they say, oh, you're not doing well, are you? What are you talking about? Which message did you read? All the other way around, like, oh, whilst you're doing well, I'm not.
Yeah.
Where did you get that idea? It's because Facebook is very much in that moment. And the condition, certainly the conditions I live with are very much, you have to deal with how you feel in that moment.
Yeah.
And I've learned that.
Then I've learned that as well, because I mean, when I first met Anneke, I had very, very little knowledge of anything chronic illness. I'd heard of ME, I'd heard of CFS, certainly hadn't heard of EDS or every variation of EDS that is imaginable. I can't believe how many variations there are now. So I've learned a lot along the way about living with a chronic illness and how it can be so changeable just from 1 hour to the next. You can literally change how you're feeling. But also there was an interesting time when I was proofreading Anneke's glossary. And in the glossary, she goes down in detail all the symptoms that she has and each illness that you've been diagnosed with, you go into. So it's obvious to everybody who's reading what you're kind of dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And it got to the description of EDS. And I remember I was nearly
so careful how you worded that email.
I wrote out a long email because I wanted to be so careful not to offend anybody, but also I felt really strongly about how the glossary was worded. And the symptoms that Anneke had written out for EDS are no different from anything that you see on Google.
I did cheat for the glossary. I did do it. Internet search and made it look different enough so that it's not plagiarism.
But effectively, what Anneke had written down was hypermobile syndrome was hypermobility, tiredness, stretchy skin, just picking at a few of the symptoms. And I was reading it thinking, this just doesn't reflect what I have seen working with Anneke over the last year. That to me sounds like someone could look at those symptoms who didn't have a clue and think, okay, so she's a bit tired and she's got bendy joints. What's so bad about that?
You want to see the truth? It's not a very good idea to do many of these, but actually some. We're here for a reason, aren't we? Praying
Super
praying behind my
flexible.
back. And our son used to be able to put his leg in.
Oh, wow.
But I won't try that because my neck's been operated. That's one of the reasons the book's been written.
But I looked at this description in the glossary, and I said to Anneke, I don't understand why this description is medical gaslighting itself. It's medical gaslighting the actual illness, because it's not doing it justice. It's not a fair replication of what people with EDS and probably many other chronic illnesses are reflected the same way, what people go through on a day-to-day basis. So I sent you kind of an angry email on behalf of all chronic illness sufferers.
And
saying,
you
like,
apologised
really...
for it. I don't mean to offend you. And I was like, no, you're on board. You get it. You've actually bothered to go and read and connect what you read to what you've seen and heard. And,
but I think this is important,
it.
and this is really why you written the memoir in the first place, is because it's so under-publicised how the reality of what people with chronic illness are dealing with every day, day-to-day lives. And that's why you wrote the book, and that's why I wanted to publish the book, because you need to get things like this out into the world so that people can genuinely see what people are going through. And I think that is where the ball starts rolling. If people are aware of what's going on and what the realities are, then things can start changing. And I know that's your whole reason behind writing this book and publishing the book, to advocate for the cause. And it's such an important one.
And we have a new advocate on board now.
Yes. Absolutely.
I can tick that box.
You're one person.
One person at a time. Maybe some people here will go away with a different view on.
Many people, I think, already. Your contributions to marketing throughout this whole thing. Honestly, if all of my authors marketed the same way that Anneke did, my job would be so easy. She has jumped on the marketing bandwagon. She sounds amazingly. She's securing interviews all over the place, talks all over the place. Yeah. And this is the whole point. Some people write books to make money. Some people write books for fame. Some people write books as an advocate because they want their voice to be heard on behalf of everyone else who is going through what they're going through. So this is why it's really important to be shouting this from the rooftops, basically.
And I remember in that very first conversation that we typed a few lines to each other, but very, very quickly felt that we needed to speak to each other. So we did the internet thing. And in that first conversation, for one, you immediately conveyed to me that you believed me and that you believed in me, which is probably the two most important sentences you could say to somebody who's been medically gaslit. But you really believed in me, like, yeah, you can do this. And I'm here for you. If you can't, I'll just give you a push, and there you go, and that's what you did. But
that's all you needed, a little push, that's all you needed.
But the one thing that was so important that you did in that conversation was you asked, how big is your dream? I can't even say it without getting emotional. How big is your dream? And I have reminded myself of that question. And I will keep doing that, because my dream of making money with it is very small. Let's be clear, not a lot of people make money out of writing books, as far as I understand it. And I'm learning a lot, I say. But my dream in terms of making that connection, getting medical gaslighting talked about, and getting something to change. It's not about appointing blame. It's about looking at, we can do better. How are we going to do that? Because if you change anything, it has knock-on effects on other people as well. Let's not make those too bad, but let's just treat every patient with some respect, please. That really is the message. And I think from the feedback I've had so far, the message is clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anneke, I think, is going to share some reviews later of what people are thinking about the book already, and it's just so lovely to hear the fact that you're nailing it on the head, because you'll get the responses from your book that you're getting are exactly what you're asking for from writing it. So Anneke's done so well. So I'm really, really happy with all the work that Anneke's put in. She is literally a credit to the whole cause.
Right.
I am yabbering on though, and Kwame is going to play some music, I think.
Kwame does that.
Yeah. While Anneke's over there.
While she's singing my praises, what I actually said to Becky, and we spoke about her starting tonight, was, if you don't blow your own trumpet, I will.
We're not here for me, we're here for you.
I know, but this woman really deserves a medal. You've heard the kind of things she's put up with, but you haven't heard the moods and the swings, and I'm not doing it.
She sent me some really scary emails sometimes.
I'm sure I did. I have no problem admitting that. So I have a thank you for you.
Aww.
And it's kind of symbolic of what you did for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, it's live and everything.
It is live, so if you're disappointed, hide it.
Okay, yeah. We've done it up really well. So while I'm undoing this, I also have one for you. And a little bag.
Okay.
Well, we're given stuff.
I'll bring the whole back.
Yes, yeah, that's all for you. Mine's not quite as symbolic, but I just wanted to give you something really British.
Well, it is known I'm a bit of an Anglophile. Shortbread! We were talking about shortbread on the boat. Shall we get it while we're here? And we didn't.
You do.
You did well. Thank you. There's a cardigan.
M&S shortbread, the best.
Are they the best?
I mean, anything M&S for me is the best.
Really? Aww. Now there'll be something really soppy in here. There is something really soppy in here. Should I read it or?
You can read it.
I can read it?
Yeah, I think I can't remember.
Anneke Vliegen, author. See, this is that alone is really important, and people who follow my Facebook page will have seen me change from writer to author. A few months ago, we went and bought a new recliner because, with a body like mine, I need the right furniture, and it wasn't right anymore. We needed a new one, so we went. And I was doing that. Oh well, that's a few millimeters too short, and that should, And the lady was wondering what was going on. And I said, well, I used to be an OT, and I said it the way I always do. I used to be an OT in my former, more functional life. And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, I used to be an OT, and what are you going to be now? I'm going to be an author. Huge congrats to you on publication day. All that you've worked for over the last 12 plus months is happening and will continue to happen. As you said, this is not the end. It is the beginning. Well done. You have been an absolute pleasure to work with sometimes. I'll add that. And may our friendship continue. I hope so.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that.
Oh,
That's so nice. Oh,
can you
thank
hold it
you.
over? Some people want to see it.
That's such a nice little. I love things like that.
On the shoulders.
Yeah.
Just pushing it
I'm gonna
up
put
that
that
wall.
there. Thank you so much. Soppy stuff over. Soppy stuff. Soppy stuff.
Kwame, can you do something non-soppy?
Well, just one second. Kwame, just one second.
Oh, we're not there yet.
Before
Apparently.
we start music, just quickly, we talked a little bit about reviews. Reviews are so important. Today is launch day. Today is publication day. Many of you might have ordered pre-ordered the ebook already, but it's still 99p for today.
For a digital copy of
the digital copy. If you haven't bought it and you want it, it's 99p today. Tomorrow the digital copy goes up to $3.99, and the paperback is out today at $11.99. Or here, try it. Once you've read it, please review it. It's so important. The Amazon algorithms literally depend on sales and reviews. So you want to see Anneke rise up the rankings, just get your review up.
You do.
You do. And now over to Kwame.
But didn't you say that if you buy the book tonight, no push in there, but they're available, and you then go and write a review on, say, Amazon, they put it through a process and they may even reject it. Mm-hmm. So it actually would help me if you did buy the 99p copy alongside it, so that you can write a review and they know, oh, they've bought that book with us, and then it doesn't go through that process, it just gets published immediately.
It's because if you buy it directly through Amazon, then it's verified, but because these aren't directly through Amazon, if you then go to leave a review, they're not verified. You can leave a review if it's not verified, but
it takes longer.
It takes longer and it can get rejected, so yeah.
I'm just gonna put in.
This is unscheduled.
It is today a very special day for you, my darling.
And for you.
And for me. Our son turns 18 today, so our fledgling is no more, or no longer our fledgling. He has fled. And you have a new baby.
I do.
So for the two of them, leaving of the one, coming into our life, the next one, or being born today, I've got a little present. I'm not good at wrapping.
Just shoved it in there to box.
But this is for you.
Thank you. Actually, I've got three musicians here today. We should introduce them. We've got Kwame D, we've got Robin, and we've got Carol, who kind of said if I'm in the mood, I'll play a bit. So we have a musician here. And perhaps together you could play a happy birthday for our son, because it's a live stream. So, and this is birthday cake Bailey's. So if anybody fancies a drop, maybe in the break, because otherwise not of you will,
In the break, everyone is welcome to have a
Or if anybody's desperate, let us know. It's here.
Is he watching? Is he watching?
I hope so. He probably isn't. We told him in the youth house where he goes a lot, or youth centre, or whatever you translate it to. There's one of those huge screens where he took us along to see part of the Eurovision Song Contest. So we told him, go to the youth house and have the live stream on the big screen. Hello, you're probably not there, but hello. This one's for Anton first. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Anton. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip. Hey!
So, it's been great hearing, listening to you, and I scanned through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if we touch the camera, we'll mess it up again.
Yes, it's been great listening to you, and you sent me a PDF of the script, so I've not read the whole thing. Went through the beginning, a bit in the middle, skimmed through a bit at the end, and it's really inspirational. And it reminded me of one of my own songs when I was going through some challenging times in my own life, and I used the Japanese metaphor of the carp that swims up the waterfall. This, carp that's eagles and kites and bears, everything is attacking the carp, and the waterfall is in the wrong direction. And the whole story is the one that gets to the top turns into a dragon. And the dragon can soar. Anyway, and so I used a couple of metaphors. And another one that came to mind was about, I'll sing the poem, was about the phoenix as well. So, and that's how I saw you in a way, that you move from me, little me, and not that you're little you, but struggling, and then this metamorphosis into this person who wants to transform themselves, but also not alone, contribute to the transformation of the lives of others. So this is called Embers of My Heart. They say the car, they climb the waterfall, the one that makes it to the top turns into a dragon. Dragon steel is forged into a sword, pure, sharp, and strong. By pounding in fire, they tell me something, things are gonna be alright. From the embers of my heart, the phoenix shall rise again. Tell me something, things are gonna be alright. From the embers of my heart, I'll rise again. Well, that's the truth. You see, I'm growing older. I've thrown away my youth to fit somebody's mold. Now that I drink from this fountain, the walls that surround me tumble to the sea. They tell me something, things gonna be alright. From the embers of my heart, the phoenix shall rise again. Tell me something, things are gonna be alright. From the embers of my heart, I'll rise again, I'll rise again, I will rise again. From time to time, there's trouble in my life. I remember winter turns into spring. The darkest hour is turning into dawn. Well, now, my friends, justice will be won. So tell me something, things are gonna be alright. From the embers of my heart, the phoenix shall rise again. Tell me something, things are gonna be alright. From the embers of my heart, I'll rise again. Tell me something, things are gonna be alright. From the embers of my heart, the phoenix shall rise again. Tell me something, things are gonna be alright. From the embers of my heart, I'll rise again. From the embers of my heart, I'll rise again. From the embers of my heart, I'll rise again. Thank you.
It would have been easy to turn bitter and angry. I did feel betrayed. I was satisfied with the choices I had made, though. I had done what I could with what I knew. There was very little I would do differently. Throughout my life, I had taken my health issues into account, whatever I did. Every memory of fun and adventure went hand in hand with that of exhaustion and pain, either at the time or afterwards. My professional reputation had been built from sick leave to sick leave. I remembered sitting at my desk, desperately trying to figure out how to structure and write a report. I had struggled to recall which patient it should be about. Now I know the term brain fog. In those days, it was just me, or Emmy. I'd been overstretched, day in, day out. It had overshadowed everything I had done. It still continued to. I would have liked to have been as clear-headed as I was bubbly. I would have loved to feel as energetic as I appeared. It would have been liberating to take my condition for granted. But had that been the way, my life would have taken a different path. I treasured the one I was on. Despite everything, I was happier than I had ever been. However much I was striving towards better health, happiness was what mattered to me. New Year's wishes often ended with, "And good health, that's the most important thing." That addition kept me in my cage, which was rattled by its fine intentions. It rubbed my nose into the fact that decent physical well-being was beyond my reach. Fair enough, a sudden scientific leap might change that. The chances of that happening within 1 year are pretty slim. Chronic illness and disability kept me imprisoned. I preferred its bars be left alone. Life was hard enough when it just sat quietly. Would you wish a blind person good sight? A deaf person good hearing? The better the person knew me, the more painful it was. They ought to be aware. On top of that instant feeling of mourning, an internal struggle was unleashed. If I allowed my health to be the most important thing, I was about to have a rotten ride. It resembled the claims that patients who suffer with pain or have cancer only have one wish. I had as many as anyone else. Surely I had as much right to them. Although the great majority of my time and effort went into medical care, there were more precious things in my life. For me, happiness was at the top. As an individual with a poor constitution, I could feel equally fulfilled and loved and valuable. I experienced joy and fortune. Sporty types might lack any of these or all of these. It had become popular to call it a choice. To my mind, that was wrong. It was called being happy for a reason. If it was so easy to control, it would be called doing happy. It had been bestowed on me. Yes, I had had therapy. I had cleaned skeletons out of my closets. With the diagnosis of ME, CFS, there was little choice. It had had astonishingly little effect on my physical state. It did result in a more positive mind, though. Sure enough, fleeting moments of pleasure added to my overall sense of well-being. They were important. What I felt was mightier than that, though. Something stronger made my core thrive. I had befriended myself. I pulled through moments of being angry, disappointed, and annoyed with myself. My husband's words of appreciation started to ring true. My answer to questions about how I was doing changed. I feel good in myself, but, or my soul is intact, but, was followed by any bodily discomforts or emotional turmoil. The good and the bad existed together, and so they should. It seemed foolish to me to see happiness as the absence of sorrow. That would be another recipe for misery. My bliss included all feelings: pain, fear, anger, insecurity, frustration, and bitterness were as much a part of it as joy, pride, love, gratitude, confidence, and the like. The fact that I was fully able to claim my right to feel morose at times was testimony to my fundamental cheer. I believed my faith in life itself had opened up this potential. There may be some truth in the cliches. Seeing the miracles in every day helped. The attitude of gratitude did play a part. The choices we made had some influence. Yet, overall, happiness was about being, much more than about doing. Being together without the need to be doing was a blessing. My husband and child gave me that every single day. They were simply present. Spreading happiness around, on the other hand, was a case of doing, an essential one. I was privileged to know so many people who were experts at that. I was always blessed with family, friends, and acquaintances, and also doctors, nurses, and therapists who did have faith in me. Few patients are so lucky. It's only in writing this book that I have come to realize why people keep saying how strong I am. It is entirely thanks to my entourage that I managed to keep up my inner strength and happiness. Throughout my life and throughout this project. Thank you, all of you.
Beautiful. I read that earlier. Yeah.
You talk audiobook. You speak that really beautifully. Have to do your own audiobook.
Oh yeah, that's good. Career direction.
The plan is to do an audiobook,
Oh,
but I
excellent.
don't think I can do it because I cry when I read it every time.
So this is one of my songs that I call it the Back to the Future song, and it's about looking into the future. Bit of a reggae song, right? I'm into the future. I'm into the future. Oh, I'm into the future. I'm into the future. Somehow the human race ventured into space so soon, so soon. Before we could agree, we were walking on the moon. So cool. But I've seen all the children behind the barbed wire. I've seen the mothers in the military choir. But I've never seen a thing from another point of view. There is no way out. I'm into the future. Everything turns out right. I'm into the future. There's a party on night. I'm into the future where diseases, history in the future. Na, 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 na. Oh, so we saw them shaking hands. Then they turned to grab their guns so soon, so soon. But now free from starvation, they're followers of fashion. So cool, so cool. But I've seen all the children behind the barbed wire. ability required. But I never seen a thing from another point of view. No, there is no way out. I've been to the future, everything turns out right. I've been to the future, there's a party all night. I've been to the future, poverty is history in the future. Na, 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 na. I've been to the future, everything turns out right. I've been to the future, there's a party. I've been to the future, violence is history in the future. Na, 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 na. I've been to the future. I've been to the future. I've been to the future. I've been to the future.
Technical hitch. Technical hitch sorted. No. No, I'm not sitting there.
Words for your launch, said the email Anneke received this morning. It went on, I am not 100% through the book yet, as I've had a hard time with my brain. But I've read enough to be able to confidently write this to you. If it's too long or there are parts you want to reword or remove, you have my full permission. It seemed entirely sensible this should be read in full as was. So here it is. A lot of author events are about the book itself. And I do think it's incredibly important that we acknowledge what a wonderful job Anneke has done writing, editing, and polishing Recognize Me into a captivating book that summarizes how an extremely common, rarely discussed struggle impacted her life. Her memoir is full of moments I'm sure were incredibly painful to recall and disclose to the world, as well as moments of joy, triumph, love, and humor. I wanted to say a few words about Anneke, though as she is the subject of the book. I've had the pleasure of speaking with her virtually as we are in very different parts of the world. The first thing I noticed is how funny she is, which I can.
Just stick to reading the
book. And we got to discuss how important humor is as a coping mechanism for difficult times. She is also incredibly compassionate and always wants to hear your story as well as discuss her own. I also noticed she had a very realistic outlook on life. She understands herself and the limitations she is forced to live with very well. She is so intelligent. She has a wealth of knowledge about her diagnoses, and she will give advice, if asked, with kindness, honesty, and wisdom. That is hard to come by. All of those elements have certainly helped Anneke endure everything discussed and recognize me. Her voice is certain to resonate with people living with similar conditions and limitations, or with a similar history with medical gaslighting. Her memoir is also a valuable tool for those in the medical profession that hear the phrase, when you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. Generally speaking, that's sound advice. I would never deny that. Most health issues truly are relatively straightforward. If you look around though, and you don't see any horses, only zebras, well, maybe you want to look at the zebras instead of searching for invisible horses. That is something that I think Anneke's stories highlights very well. I think someone with such a great command of multiple languages, thorough knowledge of life with chronic illness that is disabling, and such a gift for pulling you into the story she's telling is the perfect voice for those of us that are not yet ready or able to speak about our experiences. I also think she's a perfect person to address the medical community with understanding and grace, and still convey the stark reality that many chronically ill people live with to them in a way they will remember. I hope you will join me in celebrating Anneke's accomplishment in publishing Recognize Me, and also in celebrating Anneke. This was sent in by Justine Steckling, EDS patient, mental health writer, blogger, and horror author.
And this is one example of Shah going out of his comfort zone for me, which he's done since we met each other, but definitely multiple times in the last year and a half. And me starting to write this book, we had that conversation. You know, what is that going to mean for us as a family? There's sacrifices to be made. And he made them. And he's still making them. And he wouldn't have his picture taken. And he's sitting here reading with a camera in front of him, the whole thing being broadcast to whoever's wherever in the world. And I'm very grateful to him. Oh, yeah. That's a good idea. That's a good start. So, can we give Robin and Carol a big hand? Now we're going to carry on with this first, and then we'll do the questions. So you still have some time to come up with questions if you have them.
Give me that one.
Give me that
Bit
one.
long.
Okay, thank you. But we're going to come to that later. What I would like to do is share some of the reviews that people who have already had a copy and had a chance to read sent me. But I kind of feel awkward about reading compliments about me myself. Something I have to learn, I suppose. But I was wondering whether maybe some of you would be game for reading some of them. So we've put them individually on bits of paper that we can hand out to people who are willing to read something. Anyone else?
Oh! I'm just randomly. Yeah. I've got 3 left. Oh, look,
Hang on, I've got 2.
oh, 2. I had 4 left. I suppose I should keep sitting in front of that and receive it, shouldn't I?
They're not very fair on people watching if there's just an empty chair. Go for it, when you're ready.
Thank you. Can we just start? This is from somebody called Andrea. I'm in the middle of reading this lovely written book by my good friend Anneke Vliegen, author. I've known her since my OT days in Leeds. The book is full of compassion and learning. Rather than being on a journey, it feels more like a quest of self-knowledge, a quest of finding solutions, a quest of trying to treat people fairly with compassion, a quest of learning how to follow her inner compass. All this is written whilst still regularly experiencing pain and exhaustion. The difference with the beginnings of the quest is that Anneke has found professionals that believe her and can work together with her to find solutions like an equal human being. If one believes in one's life purpose, then this book may be it. She has committed herself to the noble struggle of being heard and having the rights of other chronically ill people to be heard and recognised as fellow human beings with skills, thoughts and feelings. Not really too much to ask.
Thank you.
This is from your mum. Mum, initially in conversation, likened the story to a journey through a tunnel. You enter it and it gets dark, and it keeps going for a while until you start to see some light, and then it still takes time for that to get brighter. She said it is a tale of hope, faith and love. And later she writes, Anneke describes the gripping search for the causes of her little-known chronic illnesses, the opposition and obstacles. She spends years in the dark tunnel of ME, but continues to believe in a solution. In her crusade for recognition, happiness remains the most important thing in her life. She finds it in her family. She is carried by her husband and child. It is a story where hope and love are the running engine, smoothly and fluidly described.
Right. This is from Suzanne O'Day. Is that how you say it? Yeah. Go publish your
Suzanne,
book.
if you're there, sorry. She might be watching from Germany.
Go publish your book, and soon. The timing now is right. I like your style. It's quick writing, it's quick reading. It feels like a declaration in front of the audience of one of those demonstrations, shouting after having finished. Stop doing this to us. We want to be taken seriously. Each one of us with all of our abilities as well as deficiencies, be they physically, mentally, spiritually, environmentally. There are so many layers. Your medical history and how the various doctors, nurses have treated you. A personal testimony about your family life, how you stayed together despite the many difficulties. A push of hope, never mind how restricted or even disabled one is. Everyone has a particular strength to share with others and or encourage and support others.
Thank you.
Mine, well, not mine, this one comes from Daniel. Do we have Daniel in the room?
I don't think any of them are from anyone who's
Oh,
present.
that's it, yeah.
I'm not sure if they are.
Because Daniel is a post-exertional mayonnaise podcast co-host. That's what it says.
That's correct as well.
Yeah,
I'm being interviewed by
right,
Daniel
good,
probably
good.
next week for the podcast.
Also an ME patient and used to be a registered social worker. He says, I'm finding the reflections, comparisons on English and Belgian life and experiences and culture really interesting, and how you navigated those worlds and healthcare systems.
Thank you.
This is from Anonymous.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. That person appears in the book and felt that they were prepared to give the feedback, but not to be known.
This book is a touching and moving account of how the medical and mental health system let Anneke down. The reader cannot but fail to feel the physical and mental pain Anneke experienced over the years. Despite the abuse and suffering, the zest for and joy for life comes shining through. Anneke's journey of healing has led her to a place of peace and growing confidence in helping others who may be experiencing some of what she went through herself.
Thank you.
This one's from Tracy Martin, Quaker Advocacy Representative, Brussels. Wow, I had a busy few days, but every spare minute I had, I spent reading your book. It was so compelling, and I learned such a lot. I was right there with you and your family at every step. I worked with disabled people's organisations and on inclusive education in Thailand and abroad. I have a brother who has a learning disability, and I cared for my parents as they grew frail. So I thought I knew a lot, but I realised how little I know, and how often I, as a generally healthy person, must have caused harm inadvertently in what I've said and done. P.S. I'm not a natural carer. Most importantly, the writing is great, clear, lively, engaging, and the conditions and procedures explained in ways that make them totally understandable. I can see how all those years of having to explain yourself and your situation have honed your skills.
Thank you.
This is from Catherine Norton, Director of the European Disability Forum. I have just started to read, and your writing is just beautiful. Recognise me, grabbed me from the first page. Anneke is a wonderful storyteller, and in her own words, this book spreads her glitter, humorous and insightful. Anneke's way of describing herself, her family, her education, her upbringing is completely engaging. This is a beautifully written memoir. It's also a book with a purpose. It shows how people can be treated in the health system and how the health system itself can utterly fail many people with chronic conditions or disabilities. But it feels like listening to a great storyteller, and I hope it will also appear as an audiobook.
Thank you. And it will. Oh, but look, hopefully.
And you will read it.
The intention's there. Thank you.
Somebody called Jordan Lee, and he says, initially making quick work of your book. It's wonderful, and I know you will keep going. Later, just finished the book, despite seeing so much of my own medical journey within its pages. The reader need not suffer from chronic illness to see the impact medical gaslighting has had on your or any patient's life. Your writing humanises patients and practitioners to highlight how complicated diagnosis can go so awry and still be set to right. I would recommend this book to anyone living with or those who know someone living with a chronic condition.
Thank you.
This one is from Adam Lodestone, who's a mental health professional, who's also a fellow EDS Zebra, writer and advocate. As I was reading Recognise Me, what struck me again and again was the amount of detail and nuance expressed in relation to what it is like to be in our spoony, striped skin. Many people write and talk about exhaustion, pain, shame, and guilt when they write and talk about chronic illness, chronic pain, and being disabled. Anneke writes about all these facets, yes, but more than that, Anneke writes about our lived experience in ways that generate far more understanding and empathy than I thought possible. When I read passages that recognise me to be able to others in my life, I could see the light bulb turn on. I could see comprehension and compassion spread over their features. They would gasp and tell me that now they get it. This effect proves recognise me to be invaluable. But how else do we change our world for the better, if not by increased understanding and empathy?
Thank you.
This one's from Shelley Knight, who's a patient diagnosed with ME, fibromyalgia, and MCAS.
You don't know any of these?
Initially, I started it this morning before work. Wished I hadn't, because I didn't want to put it down. I've never started to read a book that I could identify with as much as this. Later, here are my thoughts. Honestly loved reading it, and I've already recommended it to several of my friends who are going through similar experiences, and to my own GP, who is lovely and does listen to me, but I'm hoping she would suggest to her peers that it's worth a read. A moving and insightful memoir that highlights the despair felt by many who are let down by the professionals we are supposed to trust to help us. I never expected to feel so many emotions whilst reading Recognise ME, nor did I expect to connect with the story as much as I did this one. I could feel every moment of despair, disbelief, the wondering if maybe there really is nothing wrong, and the pain of having medical professionals make you second guess everything you feel and think about a condition that is far more real than anyone seems willing to accept. As Anneke recalls her experiences, I know that anyone with chronic conditions that are felt rather than seen will be able to identify with her experiences. I would recommend this book to anyone who is suffering with a chronic condition, to know that they are not alone and not wrong, but they feel that the people who are supposed to help are dismissive or gaslighting them. I'd also recommend their family and friends to read too. Your understanding and support is what allows us to continue to find for answers. Finally, I would recommend any medical practitioners who have patients who are asking for your help with any chronic condition to read this book and understand we already feel lost and exhausted. We don't need you to confuse us and make things worse. Listen to what we have to say. We know our bodies better than you, so please take us seriously and help us.
Thank you.
This is from Lizzie Key, who is a gynecologian and occupational therapist. Initially, I'm only on chapter 3, but so far it's amazing. It's so vivid. Later, you have some really powerful writing. I especially enjoyed how you reflected on all aspects of how your journey affected you. The medical gaslighting didn't just affect your medical care, but every other aspect of life as well. As an OT, I really appreciated your detail on the perspective of meaningful engagement in activity. Less pain meant nothing if you were unable to engage with your family. I enjoyed too the commentary you made on various how the actions healthcare professionals helped or hindered your journey, and why both extremes of patient care could be harmful.
Thank you.
This is from, she says, it's Kate and Kelly. I presume it's Kelly Caitlin with the name, is it?
No, Caitlin is her first name.
Oh, is it? Right, I think so. Caitlin.
Yeah.
The writer's assistant, rare disease advocate. First off, I love it. My favourite line so far. Perhaps there were zebras, deer, sheep, and a whole host of other animals to consider as well as the horses. Pure fire. You know a book is powerful when you need to stop to process a sentence. As a clinician who lives with and advocates for multiple rare diseases, it's incredibly validating to hear from the voices of other patients who have been spurned by their medical industry. I practice medicine not just for the horses, but for the herd. And this book is a powerful reminder that patients are people first, and that I'll be sharing with my colleagues.
Thank you. I think we're there now. Anyone still left with anything? Okay, thank you.
Can I just also jump on that? These are all reviews that Anneke has received before the book's even published. That's just a testimony to how well Anneke's done with all her marketing. So well done for all their amazing.
And they are all genuine ones. I didn't dictate any of them.
You don't pay anybody to.
Are you up for another song?
Yes.
Oh, well, I might as well stay here. Right?
Oh, yeah, this is called My Own Two Hands. Okay. I can change the world with my own two hands, make a better place. My own two hands, make a safer place. My own two hands, with my own two hands. I can make peace on earth with my own two hands. I can clean up the earth with my own two hands. I can reach out to you with my own two hands. With my own two hands. I can make it a better place. I can make it a safer place. I can help the human race. I can hold you now. My own two hands. I can comfort you. With my own two hands. I can reach out to you. My own two hands. My own two hands. Oh, I can make it a better place. I can make it a safer place. I can help the human race. I can change the world. My own two hands. I can reach out to you. With my own two hands. I can make a better place. My own hand, my own two hands. With my own two hands. With my own two hands. My own two hands.
It reminded me of a poem I wrote many years ago, but I'm not sure I can remember all of it. Actually, it's very brief. Do you want to hear it? Because I know it's 10 to 10 and maybe people are kind of shuffling to get home. I don't know if you want to. Yeah? Okay. I can't remember what the title is, but it went, there's so much agony. There's so many fears. Here's two arms to wrap around somebody, two hands to get a hanky out, wipe away their tears. One smile to warm them through again. One heart to hold them dear. I've got a few questions here, so I'll do that. I've heard...
Hang on. Let me ask.
You read them, yes. That's good for having. Have a little do it.
We'll start with a shorter one. Living with an incurable condition, is it worth? Sorry, William. Is it
Yeah,
worth?
sorry, my writing is terrible. It might be a short question, but I guess the answer
Okay.
Living with an incurable condition. Is it worth?
Sorry, yeah, if someone has engaged with medical profession, my question is, living with this incurable condition, is it worth spending the energy and the time to engage with the medical profession?
I'd say yes. Is that enough?
I'm not a bit
In
convincing.
my case, it's actually been a really, really good investment because, as you will read, the earliest years of my son's life, of our son's life, I spent in bed. We had a camper toilet and it was positioned next to the bed because originally, for obvious reasons, it was at the foot end and that was too far for me to reach. And I'm here tonight. And I wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for people who were in exactly the same professions as the one who really frankly did some damage previously. They helped me through. So yes, I think it is worth investing. But one thing I think is in the book, I hope it's in the book, it's a question I get asked is what advice would you give? Which is so general. I'd first listen to the person before I'd hasten to give them any advice. But since we're on that subject, I'll go there. When new professionals come into your life, whether it's doctors, nurses, therapists, they needn't to pay off the debt that anybody before them caused. Start from zero. Start with not necessarily a whole heap of trust, but give them a chance. But be alert, because you know quickly whether they're going to be worth that investment of time and energy. Yeah. But yes, in my case, it's certainly been worth it, and not just for me. I think I can say that.
Because there are some low points in the book.
There are a few low points. There's people present here who lived through them with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're obviously not a low point anymore, so it's.
I haven't.
It's. We're all very happy you're here today to celebrate. This one's actually from me. Has your dream changed from when we first met?
No.
Has it got bigger?
Bigger.
That's what I meant.
It's not changed in terms of what I want. But the question you asked then was how big was my dream? Because we were talking about apparently, I'm sure you could fill an evening on that. There's different types of publishing, and it was like, well, what do? I know nothing about this world. And that was Becky's answer was the question, how big is your dream? Because depending on that, you take a particular route. And I have never regretted taking the route of going with you on this journey. Because, I mean, you bloated my dream. Basically, you just, from that first conversation, you were like, if that's your dream, that's what we're going for. Might not get there, but at least we've got one. And every step of the way, it was like, every time I thought, okay, I'll do that, and then we're done. And then Becky would come up with another idea of, I'll try it.
Here we go again.
Yeah. And I think the other thing attached to that, for me, I feel vulnerable saying that so publicly. I've said it to people individually before. But for the very, very first time in my life, I really learned and felt what the word calling means. And I really feel called to do this. And that's less about what I'm wanting to achieve than it is about every time there is such a hurdle, every time there's a call for me to go outside of my comfort zone, and I think, forget that. Within a few minutes, I feel taken out of that and put, lifted over the threshold that I'm putting in place. And I'm just doing it. And that can't but be a calling. So, yeah, it's slightly different to it being a dream, really.
Touched on it in my note to you in the card. This is the beginning, so I'm excited to see now where you can go from here. Yeah, one step at a time.
Yeah. I mean, thank you all for your generosity, because I never thought that would be so much less there. And that feels like huge already. You know, it's those things that to a lot of people are so very small. And again, I touch on that in the book, that I don't know how I wrote it in there, but how I say it now, I know. You know, that the first time I did the washing up again, it's huge. The first time I had a shower again by myself. It's like, wow. You know, and then you think, what are people make a fuss about? These things are special.
This kind of ties in as well. What was your overriding reason for writing your book?
Have we not covered that? Yeah, people are nodding.
To tell the world.
To tell the world, it's almost as though I learned the answer to that question as I went along, rather than me starting from that. Because early on in the journey, I'd had enough feedback about my writings. You know, I wrote a blog and I posted the odd letter of complaint to some company on Facebook, and people would respond, things like that. So I knew I could write in a way that touched people. I was confident enough about that. The big difference between doing that and writing a book. And I didn't want to be the one, like many, that starts reading a book, then I'll get back to that, and it sits there and nothing happens. I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. So I found some free courses about book writing on the internet and read them first. And I've done what I always do. I started somewhere and I don't, where was I going?
Why did you write the book?
Why did I write the book? Yeah, one of the things was create your audience while you're writing it, because otherwise you might have read the best book ever written and nobody's waiting for it. You're not going to be selling it. So, okay, that's one of those, you know, okay, I'll do it. So I started the Facebook page, and I wasn't far in when I thought, I'll do one of those videos. I'll do what they call it, a webinar, or I'll do a presentation about what is medical gaslighting, because that was the question that kept coming to me. What does it mean? So I did a talk about that, and I received an email, and it said, I've been through this. Not even my partner knows, because I'm too ashamed to tell him. Nobody knows. And it might be that I will never be able to talk about it, but you're doing it. And that gave me the answer to that question. Yeah.
How does HEDS affect your vision?
I've got a hunch that might be coming from. It does. And I have heard that from, I'm always wary about generalizing things, but so I speak for me, but I have heard it and resonate with other patients or seen them write about it. What is particularly difficult for me is that because the muscles, all the muscles in our body have to work a lot harder than they have in everybody else. So Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, in our case hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, there's more than 13 types now. I don't know if anybody's here that knows just how many, but the last official count was 13, but more have been found since. Are problems with the connective tissue. So connective tissue, that's like top to toe, there's issues, because it's the stuff that holds us together. And so muscles have to work a lot harder than they would. Than normally your body would hold itself together, and now the muscles do that. So I find when I get more tired, my vision really gets disturbed. I see less sharp, start to see the swimmers, they're called. And it's something that I have talked with opticians and doctors about, and that they say, well, not much we can do about that. So it's one of those that I have to accept. But I'm wondering whether there was another question in there. Look around the audience, not make it obvious I know where it's come from. There is actually some speculation that it is closely related, that not closely related, but that the genes would be very close to the genes that I also carry for a condition called glucomonachromacy, which the men in the family actually have the symptoms for. And depending on where in the line you are, I'm 100% certain a carrier. They don't need to test anything because my dad has the symptomology. And our son does. There was 50% chance. So I've been very generous. He really won the genetic lottery. He's got a lot. He's got the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. He's got the leukomonachromacy. He's got dyspraxia, as I do. He's got the adrenal insufficiency that I have. There's no diagnosis of lupus, but mine's entirely under control. So I think that was my body just going into survival mode, throwing anything there. We'll have a bit of lupus, see if that helps. But he's also very intelligent, so he is different to me in some ways. But he does have those genes. And there is some speculation that the two are actually physically close to each other, those two genes.
Long one. I'm sorry if I can't read your writing.
Read.
I have heard friends anxious that you're attacking the medical profession, particularly when they were themselves reading to see that profession as positive. I have known many friends who are highly wrongly angry.
Rightly or wrongly?
Rightly
Okay.
or wrongly angry with the medical profession, and I'm happy that this should be expressed. How do you approach this? Did you get that?
I did get that, and I understand the question. I get asked it regularly, so I'm prepared for this one. My anger is not towards any particular profession. And I'm very clear about that in the book. I think you heard in the reviews that somebody, I think it's the one that I read, that Justine said that I was well placed to have the conversation with the professionals with grace. And I hope I've conveyed that in the book. It's very human the way that the professionals end up gaslighting patients. I very much doubt there's many people who choose to go into the caring professions who then spend their life getting up in the morning, looking in the mirror, thinking, who can I damage today? They do what they think is best. And with chronic conditions that are rare, and often the two go together, because if it's only a small group, there's all sorts of reasons not to go so heavily into the research of it. There's economic reasons, there's practical reasons. Those patients comes to you with things that other patients come to, and they say, for example, in my case, my main symptom was severe exhaustion from a young age. And it's very difficult to describe that exhaustion to people who know what feeling tired is like. I try to do that in the book, really through repetition of examples of situations I got into because of it. And the toilet is a really good example. I mean, who would choose to have a camper toilet next to them? So they come and they say, I'm very, very tired all the time and I sleep and it doesn't help. So what do you do as a doctor? You say, well, are you eating healthily? Do you drink enough water? Do you do exercise? You're probably not doing it right. We'll give you some support with that. And the patient does that, but they come back and they're still complaining, not the same complaint. And they come back, I had them come back in 2 weeks' time, perhaps you'll be a bit better for a while. And I didn't get any better with the advice that was given. So it's very, very natural for someone to then think, well, they're probably not doing it right. They're probably not following my advice. They must, and gradually get into, well, they must just be imagining it or exaggerating it, or they have some psychological construct that is keeping them ill. I understand that. No way am I going to say that did me any good. I mean, I was told if I kept being so resistive to their treatment, I would never heal. Well, they were right. I'm never going to heal. but it's nothing to do with how resistant I was to them. I actually, even when I wrote the book, as I wrote the book and as I kept having to reread it and re-edit it, I realised there really is only two individuals in there that I really carry some bitterness towards still. And I think if I had the opportunity to meet them, recognise who they were, I don't think I probably would, but say I did and had a conversation with them and they told me, I don't know, I was just qualified, I was in a new place, I was trying to impress my boss, whatever, I would have an ear for that. I would be able to let go because I've done it with so many other professionals. But there are two that I am. And when I've asked people who've read it, can you tell who they do? So it is clear in the book. But my book is certainly not an intent to attack. And I think I've managed, by the fact that people are able to recognise one or two people out of it, shows that that is not the general tone of the book. Because otherwise, there wouldn't just be one or two that they could tell. In fact, it's actually a call for conversation. My parents, very quickly, but I wanted to tell you, my dad also wrote a review, a very thorough review. And when my dad does this, he's serious. He's not going to say it's excellent because it's my daughter. And I actually said to him, Dad, there's no criticism in there. Like, are you not well? Kind of thing. Well, I can't really find any. And you can read that in my blog. I put it in, I thought it was important enough to share there, and it's a long one. So, and again, I was going to say something about that. Yeah, at the end of it, a few days after, they read it alongside each other and went through a whole emotional process doing that. And a few days after they had read it, they kept talking about it with me. And they said, it actually makes you think. And what you're doing is not blaming. What you're doing is saying, we can do better. How do we do better? And that's the core of the book, much more than who can we attack for this. And I think it needs to be raised. I think if we want to see change, if we want to reach better, we need to be able to actually state the case, to bring up the painful facts. And when my parents read it, as they were going through it, there was a stage where they said, we feel really sad. And we feel really guilty. Now, the first bit I was prepared for. I knew this was going to be a heartache. I've got an 18-year-old now, and I've seen him suffer. And it is a heartache. And to read that, and it's raw, that was going to be painful, but they said they felt guilty. I hadn't seen that coming. But by the end, they were very much, it's making us think. They'd gone through. But I had to raise the stuff that caused the pain to be able to get to, well, actually on reflection. So it's... Does that really answer what you were asking? Yeah, okay.
But this is the first step, really, isn't it? This is why you wrote the book, because you wanted, this is the first step of raising the awareness, and then you can make it better.
Yeah.
This is the first step. And also, I'm hoping as well that you putting your voice out there and doing it so rawly and so as vulnerable as it has been, I'm hoping that also encourages other people, other patients to step forward and share their voice and to just make it known to the world that people shouldn't be suffering like this and let's do better. So,
well, one sentence that I found very, very helpful in my journey, but I kind of discovered it too late, in the sense that it would have helped me a lot if I had thought of it earlier. But when there were, it was often suggestion rather than, there was a lot of outright as well, but mostly it was suggestion of, you're inventing this. Don't you think it's because, it's only because, it's just because. Well, actually, no, but I don't know, you might be right. But what I learned to ask was, if this is all in my mind, if this is all psychosomatic, if I'm imagining this, exaggerating it, whatever construct it may be, does that make me any less ill? And any less worthy of care and respect? And that really is what I want the message of the book to be, that every single patient deserves that basic respect. And I think in talking about the book and in having people read it and people following the page and so forth, and particularly in Jean talking to everybody that passes him about the book, we've learned that a lot of people are like, does that exist? Did that really happen? Does that happen? And then when they're talking, they go, oh, actually, I know somebody, I think they might. And so it is around. People know, but it's under the carpet. It's not, and it's because of the shame and the guilt that we're left with. As with any abuse of power.
I think it will help people to step forward who don't even realise that they've got chronic illness. If they read the book, they might be able to relate to a few of the symptoms and say, oh, that's not normal, and maybe I can get help with this. Yeah. So I think sometimes you genuinely, you're made to feel like, oh, that's just how people live.
But what I was coming to, but I've lost again, but you brought me back to it, is that if people really know, and it's talked about, and then we build a culture in which it is implicitly and explicitly expected that every patient is treated with respect, then who's going to have any motivation to gaslight anyone medically? But we don't. So please join.
Spread the word.
Spread the word.
Spread the word, spread the book, and leave loads of lovely reviews on Amazon.
Because my publisher speaking.
Make Anneke a bestseller. How amazing would that be, though, if you became a bestseller?
I'm very aware at the time. I had planned a quiz, but I'm kind of, it's 10:10. You're probably ready to go. Yeah. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Can I just say thank you? As another ME sufferer, you're speaking to a lot of people. How much saying is important. Thank you.
Thank you.